What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of The Jump. A lot to get to. Huge college football week, and we've got a game this upcoming weekend that is probably the biggest game in regular season college football since before COVID, in my opinion. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, but we'll start out with a recap of last week. College football week 4 delivered. It was an awesome week. It wasn't expected to be an absolutely amazing week, but it was pretty awesome. So we'll start out with Friday night. Number 24, Illinois at number 22, Nebraska. This was kind of the one where it was like, all right, this is the first true test. Like, obviously, Nebraska had Colorado, but if this prodigal son, Dylan Raiola, if he's going to be the truth, he's got to come in clutch here. I mean, he's got to beat these good teams like this. Veteran group, good receivers on Illinois, great quarterback play, good coaching. I mean, this is a tough game. And Matt Rule, I mean, this is what he built Nebraska for, is to win these type of ball games, and they fall short. So Dylan Raiola played an absolutely stellar game. Amazing football game from him, but he didn't get it done when it mattered most. He let one sail over, can't remember what receiver it was, but he let one sail over their head in the end zone with an opportunity to win that football game. Their kicker misses a field goal, and that's that. I mean, like I mentioned, Luke Altmaier played phenomenal for Illinois. He's so good. And it's kind of one of those shocking things, too, because, I mean, when that dude came in a couple years ago, I think it was the Sugar Bowl against Baylor. I think Matt Corral was sitting for the draft, and Luke Altmaier's playing. If you would have told me a few years from now you'd be playing on a team that's considered middle of the pack, Big Ten, and making them into a contender, I wouldn't have believed you at all. I mean, he was solid in that game against Baylor. Transfers over, you don't hear a whole lot about him last year, and now you look up, and he's out here balling. So it's been cool to see for Luke Altmaier, and it looks like that Britt Bielema, it looks like that's going to be the hire of the year because, like, obviously he's a proven coach, but he's getting it done. I mean, they're 4-0 right now, and they've got a big one here in a few weeks. I mean, they'll probably lose this game this weekend. Tough one in Happy Valley, but they got a good team out of Ann Arbor coming in a few weeks, coming to town. That's going to have a lot of eyes on that game as long as they can handle business these next few weeks. But some of the insult stats that you got coming for Nebraska football. So they've now lost 25 consecutive games versus AP-ranked teams. Tough time to be a Cornhusker. Nebraska is now 8-31 in one-possession games since 2018. And this is the most shocking of all. In Nebraska's last 8 overtime games, they haven't scored a single point in overtime. Reminder, for what it's worth, you start at the 25-yard line. They haven't put up a single point. It's a brutal time to be a Cornhusker. This felt like they were getting over it. It felt like Nebraska's back. Maybe we needed to hold our horses a little bit on that. The next game I want to mention, I believe this was a noon kickoff. The Dukes travel to North Carolina. James Madison, obviously the team of last year, they lose their entire roster, it felt like. They lose Kurt Cignetti, goes to Indiana. Speaking of Indiana, I'll have something to put on them later. James Madison goes in there and puts a 56 in the first half. And in the first quarter, James Madison, this game was blowing my mind. This is one of those, shout out YouTube TV, no free ads, but shout out to YouTube TV. The quad box, it's one of those that was like in the corner, and every time I looked up, it felt like the most chaotic thing that you could even imagine in football was going on. This is just the first quarter alone. James Madison had a blocked punt touchdown, a kicker 2-point conversion pass, and an onside kick recovered, all in the first 15 minutes. It's crazy. They end up winning that game 70-50, and I mean, it nearly put Mac Brown into retirement. And so, I mean, he's not in retirement now, but this was from, I can't remember. I think it was from inside Carolina, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. An emotional coach, Mac Brown, told the North Carolina football team that he was walking away from the job after the Tar Heels' embarrassing 70-50 loss to James Madison on Saturday at Kenan Stadium. Multiple sources close to the situation have told Inside Carolina. Hours later, another source close to the situation emphasized that the 73-year-old college football Hall of Famer, who long has taken losses hard in their immediate aftermath, isn't resigning or quitting his coaching position. He will be in the office tomorrow and getting back to work, that source said Saturday night, going in and having a normal Sunday. That's how you know it's a brutal loss. You've got this chaos going on. Mac Brown literally almost threw in the towel. This is crazy. Like, I get it, he's 73, but like this stuff just doesn't just happen. Like this isn't a normal thing. So shout out to James Madison. I mean, their quarterback, Alonzo Barnett, the third, 388 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, 99 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. This dude is unreal. I mean, crazy. And he was known for, I'm pretty sure it was him that was the one that flopped in week 1, had flop of the year. But yeah, this was a chaotic game. It was one of those in the quad box that they had offered, and I was like, all right, I'll throw that one on there too because it could be interesting. I not advertising for betting, not saying you need to, but I took JMU plus 11, and that was probably the easiest bet of my life. So I'll just leave it at that. But so we'll keep it ACC, keeping it same state kind of, NC State, a team that I had hyped up a lot in the offseason, and I wasn't the only one. A whole lot of people hyped up this team. It had the man from Coastal that had brought them to be completely relevant in the college football world. Grayson McCall, that was the team that everybody was hyping up. They're bringing back Kevin Concepcion, Jordan Waters, good running back, Dave Doran, good coach. NC State sucks. I mean, they're awful. They are terrible. They go to number 21 Clemson. They lose 59-35, but that's one of those games, 21 of those points were in the fourth quarter. Garbage time. Scoring those on walk-ons. I think Dabo might have been out there one play when they scored. This game was not even close. And it started out, Cade Klubnik balling. It was like a 55-yard touchdown on the first drive. I mean, this game was crazy. I was not expecting this at all. I know Clemson was a pretty big favorite. I thought NC State would be able to hold in there. Like I said, Dave Doran's a good coach. I thought he'd be able to prep this team. And, I mean, what's the so there's Lex Thomas as a backup. And the NC State might not play Grayson McCall the rest of the year because this is I can't remember his name now. The quarterback, I want to say like AJ Bailey or I don't know what it was. They're not going to play Grayson McCall, probably. Yeah, I mean he's not been good, and like the only time they can move the ball was playing different quarterbacks. So I mean Grayson McCall's career might be done. He should have stayed at Coastal because Coastal has their own problems, losing to Virginia this week. But Cade Klubnik in this game, 16 for 24, 209 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 4 rushes, 70 yards, and a touchdown. That rush did also remind me of a pretty good Clemson quarterback that you may have heard of named Trevor Lawrence. If you remember the Ohio State game, his sophomore year, I think it was his sophomore. It might have been his junior year, whatever it was. In the Fiesta Bowl, that run looked a whole lot like Cade Klubnik. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they're on the same level, but I mean, Cade Klubnik was balling. That Clemson defense was terrifying too. And I don't even remember all of the chaotic plays that they forced. They were forcing fumbles. They were picking off. They were just doing whatever they wanted that whole first half. Terrifying defense. Man, yeah, Clemson. It looks like in the ACC at this point, it's Clemson, Miami. They're going to match up in the ACC championship. They don't play in the regular season, but those two are by far, not even a debate, by far the two best teams in this conference. And it's not close. I mean, Clemson's just going to go 11-1. The other big game early in the day, number 11 USC at number 18 Michigan. This was a weird one because neither team had a great resume going in. USC technically had the win on their schedule, beating LSU in Vegas, but maybe LSU's not that good. LSU got cheated, or South Carolina got cheated in the game against LSU. LSU shouldn't have won that one. Nobody knows how good either of these teams are. Michigan obviously got blasted a few weeks before against Texas. Michigan ends up winning this 27-24. I mean, I could talk about this game probably for 3 hours. But, I mean, so there's one thing. The ending was just chaos. I mean, so there was I think it was in the third. It was whatever got them the lead. Got USC the lead originally. So Woody Marks is going to, or no. Miller Moss is going to pass the ball. I thought it was going to be called an incomplete. It was a fumble. And then Kenneth Grant picks it up. He's starting to run. Woody Marks just goes and takes it from him. And they just call it 1st and 10 USC. And that ended up being like the most important play of the game at that point. Then USC scores the next play. That was pure chaos. Then game goes on, blah, blah, blah. This is a Michigan team that had thrown they were 7 for 12, 32 yards passing. And USC has a punter that pins them, I don't remember the exact yard line, inside the 10. And Michigan doesn't pass one time, drives the whole length of the field and punches it in their mouth on the goal line. It was crazy. I mean, D'Anton Lynn feels like it was one of the best hires in the country this offseason. He completely changed this USC defense. USC played that type of defense the entire game until that drive, and then it felt like good old Lincoln Riley. His teams can't tackle, and, I mean, that's what it ended up being. I mean, there was no world where they were going to stop him on goal to go, like, at any point. So, it was crazy. I mean, Michigan literally won this game by running only. And, I mean, Alex Orji's the quarterback for the future. I mean, this is your guy. There's no way you can turn back now and go to Davis Warren or Jack Tuttle. Like, he's your guy. And like I mentioned, the 32 passing yards. This set a new record because it was the lowest passing total in a game since October 31st, 1987. And these dudes won. It's so crazy. So that's going to be Michigan's identity all year. Obviously, win some, you lose some. But, yeah, I mean, they couldn't necessarily pass great last year. JJ's obviously a whole lot better of a passer than Alex Orji is. But, I mean, that's their identity. They're just going to have to run this whole time. Alex Orji played a really good game. And then, obviously, I want to mention this. If you haven't watched Michigan football this year, surely you have 2 marquee games already. Khalil Mullings is a billion times the player Donovan Edwards is right now, and it makes no sense. So Donovan Edwards being the cover of NCAA 25 is just going to age horribly. Like, I get why he was the cover, but Khalil Mullings is a billion times better, and he's the reason they won this game. UCLA at number 16 LSU. This was tied up at half, partially because Ethan Garbers looked like Johnny Manziel in the first half, especially that last play before half, that touchdown he had thrown to that receiver that they have. That play was nuts. So shout out to Ethan Garbers for that. LSU ends up pulling away. It was tied up at half, like I mentioned, but 34-17 W for Brian Kelly. And yeah, I mean, LSU's just not very good, and I don't know what else to even say. Then Georgia Tech at number 19, Louisville. Louisville won 31-19. I mean, Louisville, like, I'm from the state of Kentucky, so they're not sneaking up on me, but it feels like to the country, Louisville's kind of a sneaky team. They moved up to like 15, I think, in the AP poll. They're not going to beat Miami. They're not going to beat Clemson. So they have those 2 losses, and they've been losing to Kentucky every year. They'll probably lose to Kentucky at the end of the year in Lexington. So, no, I mean, 9-3 is a really good season, though. I mean, you can't. It's something to hang your hat on, but there's just some better teams on their schedule, and I mean, this is an impressive win, though. I mean, Georgia Tech's a good ball team, and Brent Key's a good coach. So, big victory. And I mean, it was closer than it should have been. Refs helped out Georgia Tech a little bit, but I mean, the blocked field goal return was crazy. So that was kind of the ending. And then Ja'Cory Brooks is like one of the best receivers in the country, and it's just quietly. Like, he has some crazy stats through like only a few games now. Like, he's just so slept on. I mean, I'm coming from Alabama. Obviously, everybody's like, all right, he'll be pretty solid wherever he ends up. I don't think anybody was expecting this. This has been completely impressive for Ja'Cory, and if he can keep continuing to do this, I mean, he's going to be one of the best receivers in all of college football this year. And Tyler Shuck, he's balling in year 19. Man, he's playing good ball right now. But next game, Arkansas at Auburn. I mainly want to highlight this one because Hugh Freeze might be the worst. Arkansas won this game 24-14, never trailed. Arkansas is a good football team. I mean, they could have won by a lot more. This game, pure chaos, by the way. If you didn't watch it, I think there was a fumble pick in like 27 seconds or something. But I want to highlight this Hugh Freeze quote. He said this, I think it was just the day after, on Sunday. He said, "I love Sam Pittman, and I hope he wins the rest of his games. But I'm telling you that the hard truth is that if we play them 9 more times, we beat them 9 more times. That's what's hard to take." Why don't you just beat them the one time you play them? There's an idea, Hugh Freeze. That's such a stupid quote. I can't believe he would actually say that. He's just leaving bait out there for people to hate on him even more. But and then the thing that I hate the most, I just hate when people throw their quarterbacks under the bus, especially when it's this situation. He had said in the post game where he was like, "We just got to find a quarterback that ain't going to throw the ball to the other team." I'd mentioned they started Hayden Brown last week. He looked pretty solid. First half this week, he has 3 interceptions. They go back to Peyton Thorne, and he's complaining about him as well. Nobody made you keep Peyton Thorne and play him. You could have hit the portal just like nearly every other team in the country did, and you could have picked your guy. But no, you want to complain about the guy that you ended up keeping. It's ridiculous that he's acting like this. Hugh Freeze is just a douchebag. I mean, he like, I don't know. I've never felt it, other than like my rivals, coaches or whatever, I have no beef with Auburn. I want Auburn to be in national title contention every single year. But it drives me crazy when people like Hugh Freeze throw their players under the bus. You're also the head coach. Like, you're in control of this program, and you're throwing these guys under the bus. It's just crazy to me that he's trying to say all this. It's wild. So, I mean, Hugh Freeze, he's the worst. Number 12, Utah at number 14, Oklahoma State. Utah won 22-19. This game, of all of them, score does not show what this game is. Utah went in there and treated them like they were an FCS school on their home field. Utah was up 22-3 when this game was like actually being played, and they kind of make it a little close there at the end, and it was cute or whatever. But Kyle Whittingham, man, he is the most underrated coach in college football. And this was their true test because it was like, all right, can they handle Big 12 physicality? Can they handle all this? Ollie Gordon has not been good this year, but he's obviously pretty talented running back, won the Doak Walker last year. Can they handle all of this? And they handled it so well that Alan Bowman didn't start the second half. And they did all of this with Isaac Wilson at quarterback, Zach Wilson's little brother. Cam Rising doesn't end up playing. And even Kirk Herbstreit said on game day, he was like, if Cam Rising plays, Utah's going to win. If Cam Rising doesn't play, they're not going to win. They did it without Cam Rising, and this just proves that it might be a one-team race in the Big 12 this year. I mean, you got to mention BYU. I mean, there's a few teams that are obviously in the race still, but Utah, I mean, you got to think they're the team to beat right now. Number 8, Miami at South Florida. So this is obviously a tough game. Alex Golish, great offensive mind. And it was a battle for the first half. Miami ends up pulling away 50-15. And Cam Ward in this game, the current Heisman frontrunner, he was 24 for 34, 404 yards, 3 touchdowns. It's crazy. I mean, this dude was balling. And yeah, like I said, I mean, he's Heisman frontrunner. And he's like the most fun dude to watch. He's the most chill quarterback ever. I mean, he like completely brought Miami back. Like, they're all celebrating. He's got his own celebration that he does. Like, Miami's so back, dude. The U is back. The game of the day, number 6, Tennessee at number 15, Oklahoma. The return of Josh Heupel. I mean, I couldn't even, like, just the excitement I had for this game. Because, like, it's the ending of the Josh Heupel coaching at Oklahoma obviously wasn't pretty when he got fired by Bob Stoops. But obviously a phenomenal football player there. A Heisman finalist, national champion quarterback there. And he gets his return. And this really is like the welcome to the SEC moment for Oklahoma. And you could tell early on in that game, that one hit, I can't remember the DB's name, but it was on like a run to the left, and he just decks him going out of bounds. Thankfully, he's okay, but he was down for a while. It's just impressive. Like, this Tennessee, the score was 25-15. If you watch the game, Josh Heupel took his foot off the gas. I don't know if that's because they have a couple of offensive linemen out, or if he just didn't want to murder Oklahoma because he's still got some love there. This game was just weird, and that score doesn't show a lick of what happened. If Tennessee wanted to, they could have won that by 150 points. But yeah, I mean, they got out of Norman with a victory, and they beat them so bad that they're not even going to have the same starting quarterback next week, which was the right call. Jackson Arnold played awful. He's going to go somewhere, and he's probably going to ball out, but Michael Hawkins came in and played very well. And if that offensive line, I mean, Tennessee obviously has one of the best defensive lines in the country. Can't get them wrong there, but that offensive line's just not good either. So you got to have a guy with some legs, and Michael Hawkins delivers that for you. So, which he nearly doesn't have legs at this point because he tried to do a somersault into the end zone. But I'm excited to see that. They have a big game on the Plains at Jordan-Hare. So Michael Hawkins gets a nod in that one. So he'll be their starter, and we'll see how it goes. And, I mean, that's a game to watch this week because it's a completely different Oklahoma team. But I don't know. Tennessee goes in there and dominates. And Josh Heupel just seems like an awesome man, like awesome coach. After the game, if you haven't seen it, there's a video of him talking to the team, and he's like, "This was never about me, but I appreciate you guys making it a little bit about me." And like obviously it's a special place in his heart. And then Nico walks up, gives him the game ball. So it's super cool to see. But I mean, really, if you watch this game, like you could probably agree that Tennessee like didn't throw the ball like at all. They had the one to Dante Thornton early in the game where they're running, opening up. They had like trips or something bunched up to the left. Dante out by himself runs like a deep post or like it was basically just a post. And Nico just rips one on a line. Beautiful throw, phenomenal, perfect throw. Dante takes it to the house, 66-yard touchdown. I mean, there was that play, and they could have done that all night if they wanted to. And they just took their foot off the gas, kicked field goals, and got up out of there. But Oklahoma, Tennessee kind of did them a favor they did them a favor that Oklahoma fans could actually go to sleep that night. If I was an Oklahoma fan, I'd probably press the panic button because that game was horrific. And you don't have the easiest slate from here on out. Like, you still got to play, Texas, obviously. And then I can't remember their schedule at this point, but I mean, they're going to be fighting for bowl eligibility. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, it's crazy. I thought Jackson Arnold would be a whole lot better than this. In Venables, I mean, it was weird. Like, there was a drive towards the end of the game. Michael Hawkins takes them the entire length of the field. And then there's like I don't even remember what the whole situation was. He takes them the whole way down the field. Then there's a goal to go play. Jackson Arnold goes in, hands the ball off. They don't get it. Michael Hawkins comes back in, and then they end up scoring. I was like, what is he doing? I don't think Venables handled this situation very well. Obviously, Jackson Arnold was having way too many turnovers. He just wasn't playing very good. But I don't know if it's all Jackson Arnold. Like, he's obviously got the talent. The play calling was just horrific in this game offensively for the Sooners. But if you're Tennessee, you got to be on cloud nine right now because good and well y'all dominated that game and you beat the crap out of Oklahoma. The scoreboard only shows 10, but it was more like 50. And, I mean, obviously the offense is crazy, but that defense, man. I mean, that defense had Jackson Arnold and Michael Hawkins in just jail all night. But obviously when Tennessee beat Alabama a couple years ago, it was like, all right, Tennessee might be back. And then they had a little bit of a down year last year. Not horrible, obviously, but not the best year ever. And then this feels like the game. Oklahoma's not very good, but they had lost 29 straight games versus top 15 teams on the road. It had been a streak that had been going since 2006, and they get that done. First road win versus top 15 teams since 2006. Impressive win, awesome win for Josh Heupel, and I mean, ain't no love in Oklahoma. That's all you can say. Like, what a win for Tennessee, and I mean, they almost feel like a playoff lock. They play Alabama and Georgia. Georgia's on the road. Alabama's at home. If they just split those, they're in the playoff no matter what. Even if they lose both of them, depending on how they look in the rest of the games, like, they could still be in. So, I mean, Tennessee might be a shoe-in for the playoff already. I mean, it's one of those situations where it's almost better to not be in the SEC championship. So, I mean, I said it before the season. This Oklahoma game was the pivotal game the whole year. Tennessee won it. So, shout out to the Vols, man. Baylor at Colorado. I'm only mentioning this because it was one of those, as the night was winding down, the nightcap, this was right before, or it might have been almost the same time. I think it was right before the BYU Kansas State game. Starting to wind down, starting to get it to where there's not 18 quad boxes up in my house, and I'm just watching a few games at a time. Colorado won 38-31, and this game was chaos from the Monday prior because Colorado announces that they're going to do a whiteout Crowd's going to wear white. Team's going to wear all white. But we talked about it with Eastern Kentucky and Western Kentucky. The away team gets to choose. Baylor says they're doing a whiteout, and they're wearing all white on the road. So then Colorado has to end up changing. They end up wearing black, blah, blah, blah. That's chaotic the whole week. Then this game, I think the most they ended up getting up was Baylor was up 24-10. Colorado was fighting from behind the whole time. And then they end up having just the Hail Mary of the year. And, I mean, it was a chaos like the entire drive getting up to it because they have a catch that I thought was a first down. They mark them short. They end up getting that first down. And then the play before the play on this second to last play of the game, Will Shepherd wide open. All he has to do is catch the ball, turn around. He's in the end zone. They're tying the game up. He drops it. It hits off his shoulder pads, and it felt like, well, there's the game. Shedeur rolls left the next play. LaJohntay Wester makes one of the best catches of the year, possibly catch of the year. He somehow falls, gets under it. Ball doesn't hit the ground at all. Phenomenal catch. They go to overtime. They score, and then Baylor's going to score, and they're on the 2-yard line when it pops out. Travis Hunter does exactly what textbook. I know there were so many Pee Wee coaches across the country just gritting from ear to ear seeing this tackle. Forces the ball to pop out. It goes out the back of the end zone. Colorado ends up winning this game. Prime time in Boulder. So it was an awesome game to watch. And yeah, they keep rolling. Baylor's obviously not a great team, but Sawyer Robinson was pretty good. He looked solid in that game. 38-31. I feel like it's a really good victory over Baylor. So big win. I don't have one for what I'm bringing back something that I used to do. Stocks of the week. Buying stock in something, selling stock in something. I haven't chose what I'm going to sell stock in, but I think I have an idea of it. It's something I already talked about. I'm buying stock in the Indiana Hoosiers football. I mentioned Kurt Cignetti taking that job. And then it's from that point, he almost seemed delusional because he was like, all right, we're going to beat Ohio State. We're going to beat Michigan. We're going to beat Penn State. We're coming. And it was like, all right, man. All right, you're Indiana. But the Hoosiers are rolling. The Hoosiers are absolutely balling out right now. The Indiana Hoosiers are the first FBS team this season to reach 200 or more points. 31 points in week 1 against FIU. 77 points against Western Illinois. 42 points against UCLA. And this week, 52 points against Charlotte. Or was it 59? I don't remember. Whatever it was. A lot of points against Charlotte. They're absolutely dominating everybody they play. And they could win 11 games and it wouldn't shock me. I think they play Ohio State. That's it. If you look at their schedule, it is not that hard. And that's really the game they just got to focus on at that point. So buying stock in Indiana. So shout out to the Hoosiers. And then selling stock in, I don't have it off the top of my head right now. I'm just going to say Auburn. Because it feels like Auburn fans are down bad. I saw an Auburn podcast. I think it was Locked On Auburn, Locked On Tigers maybe. So, whatever, Locked On Network. They were talking if they were even going to make a bowl, which their schedule is very tough. They play at Missouri. They have Oklahoma this week. They play at Kentucky. They have at Alabama. They have at Georgia. They're probably not making a bowl game. So you got to sell stock in Auburn. And it's looking like Hugh Freeze might not have been the right hire. But, I'll sell stock in Auburn, buy stock in Indiana. Two completely different programs at this point. Indiana looks great. Auburn looks not so great. Some games to watch in Week 5. I'm not going to talk about all these because I have a whole lot of them. So take note of these games. These could end up being classics, or I just think they're going to be really good games. Obviously, the game of the week, it's College Game Day. This game, at this point, it's not Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, and that's what the question is. That's where the question comes up. Georgia is 45-2 since the start of 2021. Both of those losses came to the Alabama Crimson Tide and Nick Saban. Georgia's lost 8 of the last 9 games against Alabama. Kirby Smart is 1-5 against Alabama. It's in Tuscaloosa, but the big bad Nick Saban is not standing on the sideline for this game, and that could be the difference for Georgia. I'll post my predictions later on in this week, so follow the Instagram, follow the Twitter, follow the TikTok. Y'all can go check those out. I'll post my prediction later on in this week, but this game is going to be unreal. This game is giving me flashbacks of, they did say Donald Trump, former president, is going to be in attendance. I know he was at some Army-Navy games. The last game I remember not being an Army-Navy game that he went to was at LSU at Alabama, the craziest college football game ever. Not the craziest ever, but the amount of players in it on that LSU 2019 team and that Alabama team was crazy. Like, he's going to this game. Like, this game, it's 2 versus 4. Everything on the line. This is the first time since 2007 that Alabama isn't a home underdog. This game has so many stakes. It's crazy. You get Kalen DeBoer now instead of Nick Saban. So many things on the line in this one. And then another stat, Kirby Smart has won 5 straight top 5 matchups. Kalen DeBoer is 12-2 versus ranked opponents as an FBS head coach. Both phenomenal coaching records. And then I saw today, I believe it was, Kalen DeBoer is 6-0 off bye week as an FBS coach. So I'm not sure what to even think about this game. This game is going to be absolutely phenomenal. That Dixieland Delight is going to hit like crack. Like, this game is going to be outstanding. It's 7:30. It's a night game in T-Town. 2 Heisman contenders in Carson Beck and Jalen Milroe. 2 guys that are going to be high draft picks, both in Heisman consideration probably all year. This is going to be awesome. And it's just unreal. Kalen DeBoer, Kirby Smart, it's 2 of the hottest names in the game. And then, you talk Ryan Williams, first big game for him. He's going to be going against that secondary, including Malachi Starks. And like, this Georgia's defense is unreal. This game is going to be absolute cinema. So that's obviously, without being said, that's one to check out. We get another good Friday night game, Virginia Tech and Miami. I don't think it's going to be much of a game, but it's going to be a cool one to watch on a Friday night. And if you haven't watched much Cam Ward, definitely tune in. He's a blast to watch. Kentucky travels to Ole Miss, so my Cats go to number 6 in Oxford. I'm not saying we're going to win, but I'm a whole lot more confident after the Georgia game and the Ohio game. We won 41-6 this week, and we get Chip Trayanum back, the transfer running back from Ohio State. He's our number 1. We haven't had him the whole year. Jamarion Wilcox has been running great. Jason Patterson, while he was healthy, he was great. Demi Sumo-Carnbay has been running the ball great. Brock Vandegrift has looked light years better after that South Carolina game, which wasn't all his fault. But we're moving him out, rolling out a lot. Ole Miss hasn't played a great schedule so far. I think they're better than people were giving them credit for. I think people are putting way too much weight on who they've played. But I'm not saying it's upset watch, but I'm saying I don't think it's crazy to take that spread. I think it's like 17.5. It's not crazy to take Kentucky to cover that spread. That defense is crazy. And I guess we'll see how Stoops can coach against Lane Kiffin. And then you get number 20, Oklahoma State at number 23, Kansas. Both teams down bad, I would assume. I don't know a whole lot of Kansas State fans. I know quite a few Oklahoma State fans, but they're not doing great because, they obviously battled back. A little delusion, but Kansas State got throttled. Like, they have a dude that's literally supposed to shove a Taco Bell like burrito or something up his butt. Like, that's where their fan base is at. So this is a massive game, and this completely eliminates one of them in Big 12 contention, in my opinion. Because if you can't win this one, you're not beating these other teams in the Big 12. Number 15, Louisville at number 16, Notre Dame. Obviously, Notre Dame went to Louisville last year and got blasted. Different team, different everything for both squads. I think I'll take Notre Dame in this one. Don't know what the line is right now, but it's gonna be a fun game. 3:30. Another 3:30 game. Colorado at UCF. UCF's another sleeper team in the Big 12 that could mess around and do something. They got to handle Colorado and handle business week to week as of right now. R.J. Harvey, one of the best running backs in college football, didn't make my Heisman list, but we'll talk about other running backs that are ahead of him whenever we get to that. A 3:40 kickoff. Oklahoma, number 21, at Auburn. This game's going to be disgusting football, so I'll definitely have to watch it. 7 p.m., Ohio State finally plays somebody with a brain. They're not playing just MAC schools now, so this can be fun. I mean, Marshall's been their toughest opponent so far, I'd imagine. Like they've just beat the crap out of everybody. They get into conference play now. They travel to Michigan State. Ohio State's going to win that game, but Michigan State's been a pretty solid team, and they could have won that bandana game on Saturday, but lost that one at the end. Illinois, number 19, going to Beaver Stadium. Not a good look. Number 9, Penn State. Penn State is a phenomenal team, and I got flashbacks seeing this because of the last time Illinois went to Penn State, and you had the 20-18 final non-overtime game. So that one was pure chaos, but that one's a 7:30 game, and then 10 p.m. you get Washington State at Boise State. You get the blue turf, the best running back in college football. You get John Mateer, one of my Heisman finalists as of right now. Just gonna be awesome. It's one of those late night games. It's gonna be really fun to tune into, and yeah, definitely gotta check that one out. And then I'll throw in a few more that aren't nearly as notable, but I definitely want to mention them. Wisconsin at number 13, USC. USC's old DC is now the DB coach. Not Alex Golesh. Why can't I remember his name? Can't remember his name, but Wisconsin DB coach used to be USC defensive coordinator. So that'll be like just a cool little story to have. Arkansas, Texas A&M. That's just played in Jerry's world. It's just a cool game. Could be a really good football game. It seems like it is every year. Number 21, or no, I already said number 21, Oklahoma at Auburn. North Carolina and Duke, both teams are really bad at football, but it's a rivalry, so it's going to be fun. Florida State at SMU. I would imagine SMU is the favorite, but Florida State, SMU is going to kill them. Never mind. I'm not saying anything. SMU is going to kill them. South Florida at Tulane. This game is going to be absolutely electric. Alex Golesh and John Summerall, two of the hottest names coming up out of these young coaches. That game's going to be a blast. Liberty at App State. So that's like 4 teams that are in consideration for being one of those G5 teams that ends up making the playoffs. So that's going to be awesome. My Heisman rankings heading into week 5. I actually don't have it pulled up right now. But I'll do the best from memory. So 1, Cam Ward. 2, Travis Hunter. And I mean, obviously, really the top 4 are the ones that really matter. Ashton Jeanty was 3. I believe it was Quinn Ewers 4, I think. And then it was like Jalen Milroe sprinkled in. I'll throw it up on the screen to show my actual list. But Caleb Johnson had to be on that list. He's been balling out for Iowa. So he's on there. John Mateer is on there. I know Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart, and Carson Beck are the ones that round out that group, but I can't remember the order that I'd put them in. I'd put them on there for a reason, but I can't. I mean, Jackson Dart's obviously like not. I think he's like 6 on mine. He just hasn't. He hasn't played anybody yet. Like this week could move him up a lot for me, just because it's actually a really good defense. And then Jalen Milroe, Carson Beck, those two are right by each other on there. And the winner of that is going to separate themselves and jump up quite a bit. So that one's going to be a massive game for Heisman stakes. Quentin Jackson almost made it, considered it, but did not put him on there. I can't remember who else I was considering putting on there, but it's an awesome Heisman race. It's been fun to see. And Quinn Ewers, obviously, he's got to ball out when he comes back. But once he comes back, Arch ain't playing again. So if Quinn can stay healthy and put up some good numbers, he can still win it, even with missing a couple games. So I'm excited to see that. I want to note a few other things. So the question is, who will Florida hire? Obviously, I didn't think I'd be making a video at this point, and they would still have Billy Napier. But, I mean, they went on the road and won in Starkville, so I think that makes them either the second or third worst team in the SEC, and not the worst, because Mississippi State is definitely the worst. It's just I don't know. There's not an obvious hire. Obviously, the Florida fan base is wanting Lane Kiffin bad. That's their guy. I mean, I'll break more of this down when Billy Napier is officially fired, and we'll talk names then. But it wouldn't shock me if they try to go after like John Summerall, but it hasn't worked out going to these G5 guys. So, I mean, I think they'll go Lane Kiffin, maybe Eli Drinkwitz. I mean, there's a few other names that pop in my head. Obviously, some coordinators from different schools, but Obviously, like when Billy Napier officially gets fired, which is inevitable, I'll talk more about that. So, yeah, I mean that's kind of the talk of Twitter though, is that Lane Kiffin is going to be the Florida Gator coach. So we'll see. And obviously that talk's not going to happen during the season because Ole Miss has got a national championship to go chase. Some other news to round it out. Adrian Wojnarowski, he's leaving the news world, and he will become the GM of his alma mater, St. Bonaventure. And he's going to be the GM of the men's basketball program. This is actually super cool, but he made it very dramatic. He said, like, time is not an endless supply, and he wants to enjoy life. I would have just said, put out a notes app and just say, like, dude, this is annoying. Like, I don't want to do this. I want to go to St. Bonaventure. Love that program. I want to be with them. Like, I would have just done something like that. Like, it didn't have to be this serious of a thing that you put out, but, like, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's what Scoops guys do. They just make it, like, a little dramatic. But I think it is super cool for Woj to do that, though. Like, I mean, it's probably not going to be as fun as what he's imagining, but it can't be much worse than having to be on your phone 99% of your life. So, yeah, shout out to Woj. I mentioned Mississippi State, talking about Florida beating them. Poor Mississippi State. So Blake Shapen gets hurt in the Florida game, out for season. They have, I think it's like Michael Van Buren, I think was his name. I can't remember. True freshman comes in to replace him. Then it gets announced Blake Shapen's out for the year. They're already struggling. They're 1-3 currently. Their next two games are at number 1 Texas and at number 2 Georgia. They're literally gonna finish 2-10. I think they still play at Tennessee, maybe, and then I think they play at Ole Miss at the end of the year. Like, this is not gonna be fun. It can't be fun to be a Mississippi State fan right now. It's got to be awful. So yeah, so say some prayers for your local Mississippi State fans. And then lastly, Pac-12 additions and potential moves. This has been chaotic, and I'm almost worn out with even like trying to follow it because none of it makes sense at all. It felt like Tulane, Memphis, USF were going to end up like going. Obviously, they made those additions 2 weeks ago or whatever of Colorado State, Boise State, San Diego State, and San Diego State, Colorado State. Who else did they add? Who am I missing? Boise State, Colorado State, San Diego State. There was another state, Fresno State. That's who they added like 2 weeks ago. Gosh, that took too long. And then it came out, Memphis, Tulane, and USF are expected to announce their commitment to the AAC, which they later did. So they're not going to the Pac-12. Then it comes out from Brett McMurphy that Gonzaga is leaving the WCC to join the Pac-12 despite not having a football team. Pac-12 would still need 2 more teams to be members by 2026. And then John Rothstein, out of nowhere, says that's just not true. And he's like, it hasn't been confirmed yet. So then we're moving on to, this was the last night as I'm recording this, Utah State is expected to accept an offer to join the Pac-12 per Pete Thamel. This comes moments after Air Force, San Jose State, and UNLV have planned to agree to commit to the Mountain West. I don't know what is happening. I do want them to like change the name though, because if they're gonna just keep taking these Mountain West teams, just change it to like the Mountain West or not Mountain, like the Mountain 8, Mountain 10, however many they get. I don't think they should use Pac-12 because this is not going to feel like the same conference. This is going to be like a conference that's, I mean, they need to bring back Cal and Stanford, and then maybe try to steal SMU and like just try to do something. But this conference is going to be like just chaos, and it kind of sucks because they're taking like a really good college basketball, taking a really good college basketball conference away with the Mountain West. But yeah, I don't know. Conference realignment is just getting chaotic, and I love following it, but it's tiring at this point. Like, it's just, I don't know who's going where. Like, I know at this point they have those 6 that I had named with Wazoo and Oregon State obviously still being there, and then they add Utah State, so they're 7, I guess. I'm assuming. So I don't know who they're going to get, but yeah, no, it's crazy. It's just pure chaos, and I'll probably have an update next week because there should be more movement and stuff going on within the next week. But enjoy this college football slate. It's going to be phenomenal. Georgia, Alabama, biggest game of all of our lives in the regular season. It's going to be awesome. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you follow the socials. They'll be at the end of the video as always. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and just let me know what games you're looking forward to this week. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Jump. Enjoy the weekend, enjoy the football, and peace.